Marilyn Monroe once said, "The sky is not the limit, your mind is." If someone had told that to my younger self, I would have seen nothing but obstacles. At just 11 years old, I laid in a hospital bed after my second spinal corrective surgery and listened to my doctor respond to my excruciating pain by saying the largest 3 words of my life: mind over matter. Super cliche, so bear with me here. Those words stuck with me. It took me many years to fully understand that if we can change our mindset, we can change how we experience any situation. For context, I was born with scoliosis, which had curved my spine in the shape of an S. As a kid, I had struggled with pain from riding a bike, running, or even just playing. I had preset doctor appointments every 3 months, and it wasn't long before I found myself at one of those appointments holding my dad's hand, saying, "It's okay," after hearing I needed to have surgery. Everyone always told me how brave I was. It was said to me so often that as I was being wheeled away toward the operating room, I remember closing my eyes and continuously repeating to myself, "I am brave." And I believed it. I almost didn't pass 5th grade that year. And when other kids were outside playing, I was inside healing. I'd watch the clock, waiting for more medication. Even though every time I took it, it made everything I ate come back up. When my tutor would come over, we would sit outside, the closest I had been to other kids my age, and I'd daydream that by next summer, I too would be leaping toward the ice cream truck, asking my parents for the beloved SpongeBob popsicle, and I wouldn't have to taste it twice either. Unfortunately, a year later, I was rushed to the hospital for an emergency surgery. You see, my first surgery had depended on the hardware lining my spine to fuse to it, to become a part of me, and it didn't. I developed a softball-sized lump on my back, causing radiating pain down my left leg. I missed the last day of 6th grade that year. And when I wasn't consumed by pain, I had been consumed by that. For those of you who don't know, that was a huge deal. That's the day where you sign yearbooks and exchange home phone numbers to meet up over the summer. My 11-year-old life was basically over. Honestly, though, I was beginning to lose hope. I didn't want to hold on to hope if I was unsure of what would come next. 2 titanium rods and 23 screws later, I was left with a long, red scar covered in butterfly stickies top to bottom, where they had peeled muscle from bone, drilled, repaired, and then closed shut. There I was, listening to mind over matter. At 17, I had been accompanied by the shadow of pain for over 10 years, continuously in and out of hospitals for indescribable pain. I was ultimately diagnosed with a surgical complication called arachnoiditis. And although it kind of sounds like I'm Spider-Woman, which I'd like to think that I am, it's just a fancy word for the bundling and the spidering of the nerves. Not as cool as Spider-Woman. Needless to say, I thought I was defective. Then my journey began. What if we have the power to change more than we think we can? Dr. Slosby, a doctor from Harvard, explains the impact of positive thinking. She says that we tend to focus on what we can't do, but if we can retrain to focus on what we can, we'll have a better view of the world at large. We may have limitations, but we are still whole human beings. This explanation explains the differences in my two memories. One, hopeful and brave, and two, fearful, anxious, and excruciating. Both surgeries were painful, but when fear and anxiety were involved, it had amplified into a monster. Reinhold Niebuhr is an Elmhurst University alum, as well as the author of the Serenity Prayer. At 17, my therapist wrote in my journal, "I grant myself the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference." I like this picture. I've been an EMT now for the past 3.5 years after never getting medically cleared for physical activity. During a pandemic, I fought on the front lines, giving hope to others as well as myself. I decided to pursue a degree in psychology at Elmhurst University because I have the courage to change the things I can. Almost 15 years later, I now know my doctor was not being cruel by dismissing my pain, nor was he trying to question it. He was giving me a tool to take with me. If I let fear, anxiety, and pain control my life, there will never be room for hope, happiness, or even bravery. I still have pain, but I am no longer defined or defeated by the monster that it once was. I break down at times, but then I remember I am in control. Pain is not my enemy. Pain now challenges me to break through my own past set limitations. So the next time you think, "I can't do that," just remember, as cliche as it is, mind over matter just means today belongs to you. The sky is not the limit. Only your mind is, if you allow it to.